So I mentioned it going to break. The NFL is always a year-to-year league, but if you're a Jet fan, you've already started looking ahead, given the fact you have 3 first-round picks in 2027 and what's supposed to be a tremendous draft, especially at quarterback. ESPN published a story where they did the future power rankings for all 32 teams based on the next 3 seasons. And I went through it just to get a feel for, well, how do they see the Giants and how do they see the Jets grading out over the next couple of years? So the headline is NFL Future Power Rankings 2027 through 29, projections for 32 teams. They asked a panel of experts, analysts Louis Riddick, Aaron Schatz, Ben Solak, and Seth Walder to rate each team's QB situation, remaining roster that doesn't include the quarterback, the front office, and the coaching staff using this scale. So again, it's based on your QB, your roster minus the quarterback, your head coach, and your GM. And it assign grades. A+, that's 100. 90 to 99 is an A. They're calling that great. 80 to 89, that's a B, very good. 70 to 79, that's a C, that's average. 51 to 69, that's D, very bad. 50 and below is an F. Which, by the way, I thought under 65 was pass-fail when I was going through the education system. According to ESPN, it's now 50 and below is an F. So let's start with the Jets. The Jets came in at 29, and I vehemently disagree with this. Their overall roster, excluding the quarterback, they graded out as a 74.25. That's 23rd in the NFL. Not bad, considering that a lot of their roster is built on young players taking a huge step forward, and if they do, I think they could be better than 23. Again, this is not including the quarterback. If you include the quarterback, the Jets were graded at 28 at quarterback. 65.5 is the score, so that'd be a D grade according to ESPN's standings. Coaching. This shouldn't surprise anyone who has eyes. Aaron Glenn, dead last, 32 out of 32. Gee, I wonder why. It's almost like he had one of the worst seasons in the history of professional football last year and is lucky to still have a job. But I digress. He's 32. Front office. This is where the Jets have hope. And the people around the NFL are seeing it the same way I think many Jet fans are. Darren Mougey in the front office, they scored an 80, which was 11th in the league. That's where the Jets have hope. Because the other stuff, it really doesn't matter. Let me explain. Who cares what the Jet coach ranking is in future rankings if Aaron Glenn's not going to be here after this year? If they stink again, he's gone. And if you're the Jets and you have a good GM, he's going to get a chance to pick his coach. He also has accumulated 3 first-round picks, and the Jets are set up to have $100 million in salary cap space. And again, their roster is 23 in this, minus the quarterback. So you exclude the quarterback, they're 23, and that's before we see David Bailey play. That's before we see D'Angelo Pons even practice. Kenyon Sadiq barely has practiced, right? Omar Cooper Jr., they added 4 players in the top 50 to their roster. You have another year of Armand Membu, another year of A.Z. Thomas, another year of Mason Taylor. You still have Garrett Wilson and Breece Hall signed now long-term. Like, they're not bereft of talent from a roster standpoint. They have a couple of premium positions you could cross a nice check next to that you feel pretty good about. So the overall roster minus the quarterback is 23. I think it will be a lot higher at the end of the year. You have the 3 first-round picks to get the quarterback. You're going to have a new coach in this scenario, and the GM is already ranked just outside the top 10. If Darren Mougey's good at his job, the Jets should score a heck of a lot higher than just number 29 in future rankings. Again, if you believe in Mougey, and people in this poll put him at number 11 among GMs in football, then they're going to be a lot higher than 29 because the reason why they're ranked 29 is because they're basing it on Glenn being the 32nd best coach in football and Geno being the 28th best quarterback in football. Neither of them will be with the Jets a year from now if they stink. And their win total is 5.5. So you could be a pie-in-the-sky optimist and say this team's going to win 9 or 10 games. I don't think so. And I'd love to be wrong. They should be a lot higher than this, and I think there's a path where they can certainly be a lot higher than this. Because as they write in the story here, quote, Darren Mougey catapulted up league GM rankings with his aggressive 2025 trade deadline His investment in future picks has set the Jets up for long-term success. They made 3 first-round picks in 2026 and can do so again in 2027. If they don't trade those picks for a QB, there are a few exciting young players, Garrett Wilson, Breece Hall, Armand Membu, etc., so the Jets aren't starting from nothing either. And here's, to me, the most exciting part of the article. Seth Walder was asked to write a bold prediction for the Jets. And he says, quote, the Jets will make the playoffs in 2027 with a new coach and a new quarterback. After another depressing season in 2026, the Jets will be rewarded with a high pick in this loaded quarterback class. The result of that quarterback alongside a strong offensive line and a bevy of intriguing pass catchers will be immediate success. Any Jet fan going to not sign for that right now if I told you you're going to the playoffs in 27? You only got to deal with one more miserable year of this playoff drought extending to 16, and then it's finally over? I don't think it's crazy. People will say you're nuts, but if you're a Jet fan who's been following along how Mougey has put this team together, some of the things you hear from other people around the league about him, and I could also share this. So the Jets the other day, the day of their preseason game, they did a great thing for the Tunnel to the Towers Foundation. Woody Johnson and the Jets donated a full smart home for a disabled veteran through Tunnel to the Towers. And a bunch of Jet fans were invited to go be a part of the ceremony, and Good Morning America filmed it, and it was very cool. It was at MetLife. Woody was talking with fans afterwards, and multiple people confirmed this for me. He was talking about Darren Mougey as not just the general manager. You know what Woody Johnson referred to Darren Mougey as? He called him, quote, the general. He's like, we have a general. He's doing everything for us, which is long confirmed my thought and what I've been told from people behind the scenes, that this is no longer, Aaron Glenn is running the show and Mougey's his sidekick, as Woody once referred to Darren Mougey at that introductory press conference when they both were first hired. Darren Mougey's running the show. He's in charge of Aaron Glenn at this point. Like, Glenn reports to Woody, yes, but if there's a face-off on a decision head-to-head, Mougey's winning it. And again, this is just another example of how people have taken notice to what he's done. So, front office, the Jets have a top 11 general manager. I don't care if their head coach is 32 right now. He won't be here in a year. Geno Smith won't be here in a year. If he is, he's the bridge, and he's starting until Arch Manning or Dante Moore or C.J. Carr or whoever is ready to go. I think there's real reason for hope for the Jets. It just stinks you got to go through another painful year, but maybe there's a scenario where Glenn proves many of us wrong. Their Jets are competitive, they're fun, and the Colts are terrible, and that's how you get one of these top quarterbacks. Or you trade up and use some of these picks to go up and get the guy. But ideally, if you're the Jets, you don't need to trade anything. You select your quarterback, and then you have 2 other first-round picks to use on players that can help you win. Or you trade one of them, move back and get even more picks. Somehow acquire a future one in 2028. And every year that Darren Mougey drafts, the Jets somehow have multiple first-round picks. There's your fantasy scenario. As far as the Giants, where do they rank on this, right? Because the Giants seemingly have a head coach that everyone is excited about. They have a quarterback. If you believe my theory, and many people's theory, that the NFL is about having a coach and having a quarterback, it's a coach and QB league, shouldn't the Giants be ranked pretty high? They're at 22 on this. Overall roster, excluding the quarterback, 29. So the Jet roster is ranked higher minus the quarterback than the Giants. Jackson Dart, where did he rank? Limited sample size, right? 12 games. Pretty good, I'd say. He's at 18. So he's slightly under average. If we see more this year, I think he'll be an above-average starter. Coaching. Harbaugh came in as the 14th ranked coach in the NFL, his staff. Front office, it's funny. The Jets had the 32nd ranked coach. The Giant front office is ranked 32, which is going to lower their score significantly. They had a 68.25 ranking for GM. Here's why I wouldn't pay any attention to that from a Giant standpoint. Joe Schoen is a yes man now. He's no longer the head honcho on decision-making. Harbaugh has final say. He has it in his contract that he doesn't report to Schoen. The Giants changed their entire power structure for the first time ever, where the head coach doesn't report to the GM. The head coach reports directly to ownership. So the Giants' score in this is going to take a huge hit because Schoen got trashed by these ESPN analysts, and they put him at 32. Okay. Who cares? It's Al Harbaugh. Where would you rank Harbaugh? They have him as the 18th or the 14th best head coach. I think that's a little low. And while the Giants roster is not great, if you believe in the coach and you believe in the quarterback, I think they should be a lot higher over the next 3 years in this ranking here. But again, it's an interesting story because it factors in the futures for the next 3 seasons. And I believe the Jet future is potentially very bright. And we've heard this many times before, but that's all you have as a Jet fan. You have hope. The number one team for those curious, the Seattle Seahawks, overall score of 88.7. Overall roster, excluding QB, was ranked number 1. Quarterback ranked 16th. I think Sam Darnold's better than that, but he's 16th in this. Coaching is 3. Front office is 2. That's how you get an overall score of an 88.7, which, by the way, it shows you how hard these grades are. By ESPN's own metrics, the team that came in number 1 is only a B. 80 to 89 is very good. Seattle's overall score in those categories was 88.7. Think about that. Number 2 on the list, the Philadelphia Eagles, 88.1. Roster excluding QB, tied for 2nd. Quarterback ranked 14th. Coaching, 15th. I think that's a little unfair to Nick Sirianni. He's been to 2 Super Bowls with 2 different coordinators and won one of them. Front office is 1. No issue there. 3 are the Lions. 4 are the Broncos. And rounding out the top 5 are the Rams. So there's your look at the top 5. Full story is over at ESPN.com. But I think the Jets have a way brighter future than just number 29. And if you really go through it, you see why. Their GM's ranked 11. Who cares where Geno's ranked? Who cares where Glenn's ranked? They ain't going to be here starting in January of 2027. 800-919-3776, number to call to be on the show. More of your football calls on the other side. A lot to do. We got Connor Hughes at 11:30, Q-Tip in the noon hour. Keep it right here. Jake Asman sitting in for Carlin on 880 ESPN New York and the ESPN New York app. More on the Jets right now and the Giants. We're excited to be joined by SNY insider for both teams in this town, Connor Hughes. Connor, always appreciate your time. Thanks for popping on with us.
I appreciate you for having me, man.
So let's start with the Giants, because I know you've been covering them the last couple of days, and they're about to have a huge practice today. I saw 130 to 4 full pads. How would you assess where they're at in year 1 with Harbaugh so far?
It's coming along. I think, honestly, Jake, the biggest thing right now is that offense doesn't look super cohesive, which is understandable, and I think some of that makes some sense when you start to think about it, because Jackson Dart is a unique quarterback. He's not your prototypical drop-back passer. At least that's not what he's been throughout his career. What makes Jackson special is a lot of that off-script stuff that he does. And what Brian Daboll did last year, and part of this was out of self-preservation for himself, was construct an offense that Jackson Dart would be able to step into and have success with right away. So it was a lot of RPOs, a lot of read options, a lot of getting the quarterback out and moving, and very similar, I think, to what he did at Ole Miss, similar to those high school, college concepts. Now, Matt Nagy's come in here, and he is not running college concepts. He's not running what Brian Daboll did a year ago. Matt Nagy is in here, and he's running the Andy Reid system, and he's trying to teach that Andy Reid system to Jackson Dart. And so Dart is under center a lot more than he's ever been in his football playing career. He's doing 3- and 5-step drops for the first time extensively in his football career. And I think doing those things that he's not necessarily comfortable with, it looks like when he's on the field that he's still at this point uncomfortable. So there are moments and throws and times where you're like, oh, there it is, but it's just not consistent. And I think that offensive inconsistencies that we've seen the last 3 weeks or so is one of the reasons why you kind of look at this camp like, but at the same time, it's a learning curve, which you knew you were going to have an experience.
In terms of the Giants, it feels like, of course, and rightfully so, the focus has been on Dart, the offense, Harbaugh. How about the defense, though, Connor? What have you seen from this defensive group? No Dexter Lawrence, but they, of course, bring in Edmonds in free agency. They draft Arvell Reese with their first-round pick. What do you reasonably expect from the Giants' defense this year?
You want them to be better, and you can loop in Denard Wilson as the new defensive coordinator, someone who many people around the league believe has head coaching potential, that he's a guy that is on the fast track to getting there. It's so funny because I've been in enough training camps before where you see an offense struggle because the defense is dominating. And the Jets are an example of that. I mean, there were several years there early in my career, and even sometimes there with Robert Saleh, where the defense was just so ahead of the offense that it was one of those things where the secondary was just press man and just dominating at the line. And then the pass rush was getting home. And the offense had no chance to do anything because the offensive line was breaking down, guys weren't open, all that stuff. I think the defense has had moments, whether it was Abdul Carter to begin training camp in West Virginia, just having a couple dominant practices. And Arvell Reese, you mentioned Adam, he looks very much like a difference-making player at linebacker. And Edmonds has been good. And Tay Banks, the overlooked former first-round pick, kind of cast aside, has really had a resurgence this year under Wilson in this scheme. And other guys obviously stepped up as well. We all know what Brian Burns can do. But I think I don't get the vibe at camp that this is an example of a defense that is just dominating the offense as much as it is an offense that is just struggling. And I think when I analyze the Giants defense as a whole, just looking at them separate from what the offense is doing, my biggest concerns with them right now still remain at cornerback in spite of Tay Banks having a really good summer. And then at that interior of the defensive line where they're going to have to stop some runs. The Giants were putrid a season ago stopping the run. They believe Reeder and Harris, who did not play in the preseason opener against the Vikings, should make things better. But I still think that even on their best days, they're probably still going to be a below average run stuffing team.
Two quick Giant receiver related questions for you as we're talking with Connor Hughes of SNY here on Carlin, Jake Asman sitting in for Chris. Does OBJ make the team, and will Malik Neighbors definitely be out there week 1 against the Cowboys?
If the Giants keep 7 receivers, I think there's a pretty good chance that Odell can make it. Now, he's had a very, very quiet summer. I mean, even yesterday, like I know I saw Art mention this, and some fans got like real up in arms that Odell worked a ton with Jackson Dart, and he did work more with Jackson Dart, but it was still as the second-team receiver. There was a day in West Virginia where Odell legitimately got first-team reps. Like, he was out there as one of the top 3 receivers in practice. It was him, Darnell Mooney, and Calvin Austin. Those were the Giants' starting 3 receivers for a whole practice. That wasn't the case yesterday. Odell was still working with the twos. The Giants just ran so many pass plays. I think in 11-on-11 drills, Jackson Dart attempted 23 throws, which was a lot. So when they would bring in that second grouping of receivers with Dart, Odell trotted on out there. But still, he only caught 1 pass in 11-on-11 drills, and it was from Jameis Winston. In camp, I think Dan Duggan had these numbers. It's 4 total receptions throughout all of the practices from Jackson Dart in 11-on-11 period. So he's getting open. You see it. You watch the film on the All-22 of the Vikings, and it does look like he's getting open. He's just not getting thrown the ball. So, I mean, look, probably because he's not the number 1 read on plays, but it's something to watch. I mean, I think his odds increase if they keep 7. If they only keep 6, considering Odell does not do anything other than play receiver, he's not a returner, doesn't play gunner, I think the odds become a little bit lower. And then as for Malik Neighbors, Jake, everything the Giants have done since the very first day has indicated that they are doing everything they can to make sure he is on the field for week 1 against the Cowboys. That was still the case yesterday when he took part in 7-on-7, 11-on-11 drills, albeit in a red non-contact jersey. Now, the Giants are in full pads today. It was a really hard workout for Malik yesterday. I'm curious if he's back out there today, or if they're going to dial it back. We'll see. But I think what it's trending towards, based off of watching him run, I don't know if he's going to be ready for a 60 to 70 play workload in that opener against the Cowboys, but I could see them having a package of plays 15 to 20 snaps for him. I think that at a minimum is what the Giants are trying to get to.
Moving to the Jets, good job by you. You were the first to report that the Breece Hall...
I appreciate you, man. Thank you. Yeah.
I got to give credit where it's due. You were the first to report that Breece Hall's groin strain is nothing serious. Glenn confirmed that report earlier today when he spoke. Are you fully confident that the Jets are going to get, a healthy Breece Hall week 1 against Robert Saleh and the Titans?
I'm very confident he's going to be out there. So what I was told, and going to confirm this, it's a 2-week injury and you got 4 weeks before the opener. Now, I think the Jets are going to be very cautious. That's the way that it was described to me by team sources. They're going to take their time. So while he could be back in 2 weeks, I bet you they keep him on ice until 3 weeks and then give him a week to practice before the game. But soft tissue injuries, groin issues, same as hamstring injuries, I mean, they tend to linger a little bit. So will we see a 100% Breece Hall the first couple weeks of the season? I don't know, but I do expect him to be out there in the opener, yeah.
From what you've seen from the Jets, and of course covering their first preseason game on Friday, what have you made of this team so far? What has really stood out to you?
I assumed going into the season, and I still don't think they're going to be good, but I thought the defense was going to be a disaster. I did. I thought they were going to have a lot of issues. I looked at it and I said, the cornerbacking situation is a problem. Safety is a problem. Love DeMario Davis, but I worry about his age, and I worry about Jamin Sherwood next to him. David Bailey looks like a star already, undeniably the Jets' best pass rusher, but who do they have rushing the quarterback outside of him, considering it really has not been a very good summer for Will McDonald? Then you worry about there were so many questions. I thought the offense was going to be fun. The defense was going to have some problems. After watching the summer, those joint practices with the Bucks, I think the defense is going to be feisty. I still don't think they're going to be good. I don't think they're going to be great. I don't think they're going to be a top 15, top 10 unit. but I think they're going to be feisty, and I think they're going to fight, and I think they're going to claw, and I think they're going to embrace playing ugly, and they're just never going to go away. They're going to be like that little dog that just nips at your heels and annoys the hell out of you for 18 weeks. I think that's what you're going to get from the Jets defense. Offensively, they're going to go, and this sounds like such a broken record, Jake, but they are going to go as far as the quarterback takes them. And with Geno Smith right now, I saw a good practice early on, my first day or two with the Jets after a week in West Virginia. It hasn't looked good since. It's the turnovers, the skittishness in the pocket, the aggressiveness that we all have been talking about. Like, oh, Geno's going to stretch the ball down the field. He's going to attack. He's going to attack. He's going to attack. He seemed more passive and timid to throw the ball down the field, especially in those joint workouts with the Bucs. And then what we've seen from him since. So it's just, I'm worried more now about the offense than I was before because of Geno. And I don't trust what they have behind him. I think Cade's a good developmental project. I don't think he's ready to play meaningful snaps on Sundays yet. I just don't see that from him yet. So, again, maybe this is an ankle issue and Geno's going to shake it off and then be fine. But that quarterback spot, if he's going to go the Russell Wilson route like he did when he got to the Bucs, or not the Buccaneers, I'm sorry, the Broncos and then the Giants, where he's timid, Steelers too. He's timid. He doesn't really want to stretch the ball down the field, terrified of throwing interceptions, so it's a lot of dinking and dunking. I think that could prove troublesome for the Giants. They need the Geno that's going to play the effort ball, that sees a 50-50 opportunity out there with AD or Garrett or Omar Cooper or Isaiah and says, you know what, forget it. That's 70-30 in favor of mine. I'm taking the odds and I'm taking a shot. They need that quarterback, not one that's going to be timid. And I haven't seen that from Geno yet. So I'm a little more nervous about the offense than I was, but I also feel better about the defense than I did.
Connor Hughes is our guest, talking all things Jets and Giants with the SNY New York Football Insider. You bring up Geno. I think so much of it is not just him, it's also Frank Reich. From what you've heard from players and just talking with people about Frank Reich, does he have a 2015 Chan Gailey type of year left in him? Because if the Jets are going to surprise, they need both Geno and Frank Reich to be able to put together a successful offense here.
Yeah, I mean, historically, you look at what Frank's done the last, several years that he's been the play caller, whether that was his final couple years in Indianapolis, then what happened in Carolina, and then even in Stanford. Like, it hasn't been great. But I think what the players love about him, and this is a little bit more than what they had with Mike LaFleur, and certainly more than what they had with Nathaniel Hackett and Todd Downing, is that this offense and this scheme is very player collaborative. So he's asking Garrett what he likes to do and then designing things around Garrett and what he likes to do. He's asking AD the same questions, Isaiah the same questions, Omar the same questions. It's a very player-friendly scheme in terms of what he's asking. And that makes sense. I mean, Frank was a former player. He's done this for a very long time. He's got some talent. So, he's got a good football mind is what I mean by saying that. So I think this is going to be one of the more functional offenses at baseline than what we've seen from the Jets in recent years because of Frank's collaborative approach with the players. And then also, Jake, I mean, the players that the Jets have this year, and this even goes back to the years they had Aaron Rodgers, I think there is more talent on this field from the offensive perspective than you've seen from the Jets maybe since 2015. And I understand there's questions, which is an irony because to start that season, Geno was also the quarterback. But in 2015, you had Brandon, you had Eric, you had Chris Ivory, you had a lot of weapons there that you could work with. If I'm not mistaken, Curley was also there in 2015. And then you kind of saw Chris Owusu develop, Quincy Enunwa develop a little bit later on in that tenure as well to become another receiving option for this team. Is that, just physical beast athlete in the receiving unit. You had a lot there. You can make those comparisons now because you've got the two wide receivers in Garrett and AD and Cooper developing as well. You have a bunch of tight ends, whether it's Mason, Ruckert, who they like a lot, Kenyon Sadiq as that versatile weapon, a three-headed rushing attack, and probably the best offensive line cumulatively that the Jets have had since 2015. So there's a lot of pieces in place here to have some fun on offense. And look, I still don't see the Jets winning more than 5 or 6 games this season. That's probably what their ceiling is, maybe 7, but I think that's probably stretching it. But I think you're going to see an offense that puts up some points as opposed to in recent years where it's just been like, oh, the offense is back on the field, roll your eyes, go to the bathroom, grab another beer from the fridge.
So what you just described, I think is a scenario where this head coach is getting fired because I don't look at this team and go, they're bereft of talent. This is one of the worst teams in the NFL. They win 5 games after they won 3 last year. You have 8 wins through 2 years. I don't know how Woody Johnson is going to look this fan base in the face and retain this head coach. So in your opinion, what's the path for Aaron Glenn actually getting a 3rd season with Darren Mougey as the GM?
5 wins, 4 wins, 3 wins, and less. I mean, that's tough to justify a return. Five wins is tough. I could see it at 6, depending on how that 6 looks and how the season ends. I could see it at 6. If they get to 7, absolutely he's coming back. I mean, if you can get to 7 with all those draft picks that are coming, guys develop. You see it with Cooper. You see it with Garrett being happy. Sadiq looks like a player. David Bailey takes off. The defense, which Aaron Glenn is now calling, takes a legitimate step from the disaster that it was a season ago. I think that's when you can justify it. I mean, 6 wins, depending on how the 6 looks. 7 absolutely is coming back. 5, it's going to be tough. 5 is a tough one. Is a tough one to come back from.
I think it's how it looks too, right? Because like not all 7-win seasons are the same. Gase won 7 his first year. Who cares? He started 1-7. What if their 7th win is the Bills in Week 18, resting all their starters? So I think getting off to a good start, and you know this, it's imperative. Their first 4 games, they're on the road in 3 of them. They're going to be huge underdogs in 3 of those 4. Like
they got to keep games close. Yeah, they can't be getting their teeth kicked in. Like that's the big thing, dude. Like you said, how they look. Like if they win 6 games, but in all the games they lose, they're just down by 20 and 30, and say it's a blowout in the first 3 quarters, and somehow they fight their way back to make it semi-respectable. That's not good. Like you need to be competing and competitive and grinding it out weeks 1 through 18. Like you need to just be the thorn in everybody's side. Now the Giants made the playoffs this year, the year I'm about to discuss, but that first year with Brian Dable, that roster was dreadful, dude. Like that year they made the playoffs and then beat the Vikings, who were such a fraud team that year. That was the easiest bet in the world, was to say the Giants are going to win that playoff game. But like that year that they won, the Giants had a terrible football team. Like they didn't have weapons. They didn't have a real good defense. But what they did was they embraced playing ugly. They were going to drag you into the deep end and see if you could swim. Now, that season, I have never seen a football team get as many bounces go their way as the Giants did that year. I mean, they got every single break, and kudos to them. They made the playoffs as a result, but they got every single break early in that season. That style of play, though, that they played that year with Dable and Wink and just, you know what, guys, we know every game we're going to be at the Madden overall talent disadvantage. Doesn't matter. We're just going to play dirty. I think that's how they have to go about this.
Last one for me, just looking at the big picture for this Jets team. They have the 3 first-round picks. They have the cap space. I saw a story on ESPN today where Darren Mougey was ranked as the 11th best general manager in the sport already, so just outside the top 10. Should Jet fans truly believe, maybe we don't have the coach, but we have the right GM to hopefully put this team together, maybe hire a coach, and obviously draft a quarterback next year?
Look, if you can feel very confident, not based off potential, but off of what you actually see on the field, off of his first draft class. Not off potential, what you actually see with your eyes off of his first draft class. And then you see it with David Bailey, who he took over Arvell Reese. That wasn't a slam dunk, no doubt pick number 2. There was a debate there amongst everybody. Should they take Reese or Bailey? Should they Reese or Bailey? If Bailey looks like a stud and he made the right decision there, and the rest, Cooper develops and takes off, and Sadiq looks like a legitimate playmaker. If you start to see that, then yes, I think you can believe in it. The thing that I keep, and I love Darren, I have a really good relationship with him, but when you just analyze what he has done to this point, if you want to be glass half empty as opposed to glass half full, because that approach you're taking, that's glass half full. So I'll just play devil's advocate. I like Darren a lot. I think he's a great dude, and I believe in him. I genuinely do. I feel as confident with him as I felt in any general manager recently. But if you want to take the glass half empty approach to this, just playing devil's advocate, it's that everything he's done to this point he's accumulated a ton of draft capital. He's made a nice, whether it's Phillips or the little moves that he's made on the side to fill lower level roster. That's good. That's fine. Great. I love it. But they haven't been difference making moves. And even all those moves he made last year to grab in little guys who you kind of believe in, they still only won 3 games. So it was still a terrible football team. Everything he's done was, he got a ton of draft picks for Sauce Gardner, but you still traded Sauce Gardner. You got a ton of draft picks for Quinn Williams. You still traded Quinn Williams. You now need to replace those players and show that all the assets you acquired, you can now use to round out and make a better football team. I think you can have a pretty good feeling based off of the potential of this draft class and also now what you're legitimately 100% seeing from the class before to say to yourself, okay, yeah, we've got the right guy. Right now, again, I think it's still banking on upside and what you believe, not totally what you know yet. I think at the end of this year, depending on how those 2 things plan out, that's when you'll turn around and be like, yeah, I feel pretty good about it.
The Jake Asman Show is brought to you by PrizePicks. Check out PrizePicks right now. If you're a sports fan, they have something for everyone, especially if you're one of my listeners and you're gearing up for the upcoming Jets season. For player picks on PrizePicks, you just pick a player you like and you go more or less on a few of their stats. Check out some of the numbers they have for some of your favorite Jet players: Geno Smith, Breece Hall, Garrett Wilson, Omar Cooper Jr., Kenyon Sadiq, and many more. PrizePicks should be your go-to, and check out their new offer right now. Play your first $5 and get $150 in lineups if you win. All you need to do is sign up and use that code HMA. That's PrizePicks code HMA. Download the app now or click the link in the description to download the PrizePicks app today. Totally agree. Connor, always appreciate your time. Thanks so much for popping on with us.
No problem, dude. Thank you so much for having me on. I appreciate it. I'm off to Giants camp here, so we're
Enjoy.
got a little drive up there. Yeah,
Love
let's go. Yeah, pads. Let's do it.